Hello and welcome back, and you're listening to another Gration Generation Games podcast. It's packed today. We're going to be talking about the 100, the new cricket format, along with the Rugby World Cup. England are in the semi-finals for the first time in 12 years. Chiefly though, let's start with the Premier League.
And let's talk about the babies of Arsenal. Patrice Evra has said that's exactly what they are. They're crybabies. Well, that might be a bit harsh, but everyone said they're soft. And they're still soft. They were terrible against Sheffield United. Terrible.
Well, the question was Arsenal going to be steely in Steel City? They weren't at all. We were flimsy and rather predictable. You can see, when Arsenal go away from home, you can see what's going to happen before it actually does happen.
Yeah, but it shouldn't happen. My point is this, is that every single season, Arsenal fans say the same thing. They have not got any grit away from home. Now, I know you think Pepe is a great player.
Well, I don't think he's a great player. I think he'll do well at Arsenal.
Well, I at the moment, I don't think he can justify being in the team.
No, he can't. But I'm still gonna allow him time.
But that was an incredible miss. I mean, I would have scored that goal, Harvey. I would have scored that goal, and it was just unbelievable how you can be involved in a move that you start something that is perfection and end up with a basic missed kick from 3 yards. It's ridiculous.
Well, it really wasn't. It wasn't a good miss. It was not.
It was pathetic.
However, you see so many players nowadays when they come into the Premier League, they do need so much time to adapt to it.
20 years, something like that?
No, not quite that long. Their whole career.
No, I agree with that. I think adaptation is needed, but you don't adapt by missing chances like that. That's nothing to do with adaptation. That's technique.
No, it's just it actually Arsenal linked with obviously Zaha, and we went with Pepe over him. Pepe actually looks like Zaha a few years ago. Pepe's 24 now. Zaha's 26. Zaha a few years ago had no end product. He'd have all this skill and flair, get everyone really excited. And I hope that in the future, with these games with Arsenal, Pepe can deliver a bit of magic to get us out of a hole, because
nobody else is.
We don't. Well, this is what I'm. We don't have someone to get us out of a hole, especially when we don't play to Aubameyang's strengths.
If you look at every single player in that Arsenal team at Sheffield United, and Sheffield United were brilliant. They did exactly what they do on the tin. They just went at you, never give up. Chris Wilde, brilliant tactics. They know how to beat Arsenal, as any club does. The trouble with Arsenal is they can't adapt, and if you look at every single player, not one of them deserved more than 4 out of 10.
It's not a case of Arsenal not adapting. It's more, I'm going to say, the manager. We've played a dysfunctional model this season, which can't really sustain the results that we've got, but below par performances, and grinding out wins have been finally caught up by dodgy performances.
Yeah, at the moment, if you were looking at Arsenal and assessing them for where they're going to finish in the league, I would say they're going to be a top 10 team, because let me say why. Because Sheffield United was a game they should have won. They're playing at the weekend. They're playing Crystal Palace, and then the following weekend they're playing Wolves. So these, we say, are two certain wins.
These are at home, though. But
we shall see whether they are. I'm saying to you at the moment, they don't look like anything more than a top 10 team.
Well, I'm saying that is so far to the extreme, really.
Right.
You're the first fan that I've really heard come out and say that. Nobody's gone anywhere close to that far. Okay. We're all still in the conversation for the top 4, but Emery is under immense pressure from the fan base.
Yeah, I don't think he's under.
This is what I'm saying, because Salini won't sack him, because his 3-year contract is to be assessed after 2 years, and they expect him to get top 4. That's what they said, and if he doesn't, then that will be the case. But nothing has changed, really. You see a lot of people say it, but nothing really has changed.
The thing was, you can argue lots of things. Obviously, had the penalty being given.
That's a side note, though. We should have got a penalty.
Had Pepe scored, that would have been a different perspective.
That was at a point we were playing quite well as well.
But the second half, they were just woeful with Arsenal.
Emery's got 4 less points in his first 75 games as Arsenal manager than Wenger did.
Wenger was pretty poor as well.
In his last 75. Yeah. Managers are brought about for change, and even if it's worse initially, you see Frank Lampard initially is doing bad, but he's building a system now.
They're playing good football as well.
But there's no real pattern of... This is... The problem Arsenal have away from home is that there's no patterns of play that other managers will set up systems that will have been worked on. And I don't know actually how much Emery does really with patterns of play.
Well, the thing
because
is,
if we had patterns away from home, and
you can't
everyone kind of doesn't know really their positions, mainly because Emery doesn't play them in the right positions.
You can play any system you like if you've got two pathetic central defenders who are always going to be beaten by a decent cross to the far post. Then you've got no chance at all.
Well,
even the goalkeeper, Leno, who I've been very, very impressed with, looked a bit dodgy because I didn't think he played well the other night.
Well, in terms of central defenders, how long does Emery really want Miralem to give Holding a chance? Last year, before his injury, Emery, he clearly rates him highly because he was playing in every single game. He was playing Premier League, then on the Thursdays he was playing in the Europa League, then he was playing in the League Cup and the FA Cup. He just wanted to give him as much game time. And there's this thing with Emery, he's so cautious with bringing players back from injury. Maybe he's had previous experiences, but you see other teams rush back players from injury. And he's going to have to do that with the likes of Holding and Bellerin. Tierney is fully fit. Kolasinac played 2 games in the international break. I don't know why he's played. He was awful. He's always out of position now. And in terms of playing players out of position, Willock wasn't a number 10. He played there. Torreira isn't a number 8. He plays there when he does play. And everything's just very confused at the minute. And then, you have the Ozil conundrum.
Well, the Ozil thing is ridiculous. He's clearly out of favour. He's clearly, however, still the one player that can give you the pass that gives you a goal.
That links the midfield to the front man, which we struggle so much with at home.
He could certainly argue, could Ozil, that it wouldn't have been any worse than some of the other pathetic performances we saw in midfield against Sheffield United.
I'm not jumping on the bandwagon and saying that Ozil should be playing, but what Emery's treatment of him has been quite humiliating to Ozil because he doesn't deserve this. At the start of the season, he was left out to recover with the attack he had with the knives, and he's fully fit now, and however hard he's working in training, you can't leave 350 grand not even on the bench.
Agreed.
But he needs to play more games in the Premier League. A big one, Man United versus Liverpool. Credit to Man United, they pulled off a 1-1 draw. Liverpool were fairly poor, certainly in the first half. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I felt the same. I thought the inevitability of the equaliser was something I think we anticipated. But the trouble with it is that I don't actually think Liverpool were very good, and I think Man United missed a trick there. They could have beaten them. I think the good thing from the Premier League's point of view is that at least a draw gives somebody a chance to catch Liverpool because they're just unbeatable at the moment, and Man City are the only ones presumably who can. Although I'll tell you what, Leicester City aren't a bad side.
They are not at all. But in terms of Liverpool, although they weren't good at all in the first half, when they forced Man United's fullbacks back when they had their 3 in midfield and allowed crosses into the box from their fullbacks, and then when Keita and Chamberlain came on, who got in the pockets, forcing them back further, then they really caused Man United problems, and the ball into the box for the Lallana goal, which could kickstart his Liverpool career again, was the blow. You see, Robertson went from 22 touches to 36 and Arnold 20 to 46. But there was positives for Man United. They weren't rolled over, which a lot of people expected. I personally thought they'd turn up. I didn't think they'd get anything close to a draw, but I thought they'd turn up. Rashford is still low on confidence, though, even though he scored. And he needs a full season at number 9 to get used to the position. Because he's always put on the wing, but there's so much criticism of him nowadays. Loads of people want Man United to buy a new striker, but you're just going to halt his development again further. Watford got a 1-1 draw against Spurs. Spurs are struggling at the moment.
They got a good result last night, of course, against Red Star. Admittedly not a great side, but they got 5 goals, and that makes a big difference. I think when you get 5 goals under your belt, then you get a bit of confidence back. I still think they're too good a side to be where they are, and I think you'll find them clicking into gear at some point.
Well, there is I think it's more the players are actually close to the peak in what they can perform. Cause not that they are playing as well as they will do, but in terms of consistency, in terms of season on season repetition, that quite a lot of them need something new. And if you look at Spurs, Spurs are like 10th at the minute, 8th, 9th, 10th. Spurs have always been, excluding the last 3 seasons, a 5th to 8th in the table club.
I agree.
And they have got ambition and buying a new stadium and giving Pochettino finally money. But with players leaving, you don't know how sustainable they really are. Because this is really where they've always been. I'm trying to be brutal, really. They have got a good... I expect them to recover. But they have got serious problems. They need to get their act together quickly if they're going to buy in January or not. Man City... rotation but professional performance against Crystal Palace. They won 2-0 away. Yeah,
it looked so easy, didn't it? I only saw the highlights obviously on Match of the Day, but they were cruising. I enjoy De Bruyne. I just think he's an incredible player. When he's on form, he just makes that side tick, as one or two other players do as well. But they might have a problem in central defence, might Man City, because
certainly
another injury, haven't they?
They played Fernandinho and Rodri, Otamendi and Stones. Stones wasn't injured, he's just fallen out of favour, and his time is pretty close to ticking over at Man City. Otamendi had a knock, but he would have played. Rodri and Fernandinho, 2 defensive midfielders, played, but Rodri got injured the other night in the Champions League. But what 2 defensive midfielders does give you against a lesser side, obviously you wouldn't be wanting to do this against a better top half side, but they had 80% of the ball. Palace couldn't get out their own half because they just controlled the play, which is so
amazing.
Pep.
80%.
It's so Pep.
Just going back to Arsenal, I think they probably had 75%.
In the second half, we had 75. I think in the first half it wasn't that.
So it doesn't make a difference.
It emphasises the gulf for me between the top 2 and the rest even more, because Selhurst Park is a difficult place to go, and you see the relative amount of ease they really just brushed aside Palace, and even though they do have Abu Dhabi on their side again, and you see Sterling coming up against Joel Ward, who was bought for like 400,000 from Portsmouth, but no, it's so comfortable again in a hard place to go. A talking point at the moment with Man City is Phil Foden not getting enough game time, having to go on loan. He's been nicknamed the injury time Iniesta for coming on for 5 minutes at the end. And Pep always goes on about how good he is, but never really gives him a chance. He played well in the Champions League the other night, but he has to think about what he really wants to get out. Just 2 more games that I'm only going to briefly touch on. A big win for Marco Silva and Everton. They beat West Ham 2-0, and that shows that the chasing pack, there's no consistency either. Only Leicester are the only team streaming.
How ironical that was, though, if you're an Arsenal fan, to see the 2 players who played probably the best, Walcott and Iwobi. I mean, they dictated that game. They played so well, and Walcott seems to have a real fizz back, doesn't he, at the moment?
Yeah, he hasn't played much in the last season in a little bit. He played a lot at the similar point this season, last season, then got injured and fell out of favour. But he looked really, really sharp, and although the same problem with Iwobi in his finishing, he looks at home in the cam position. Moving on to one more game, Chelsea. They kept their momentum going. They've also won 1-0 away at Ajax tonight, which is Lampard's best performance. Really.
I think one of the great things I think about Chelsea is what he's doing is giving the youngsters their leash, giving them a real chance, and it's paying off. They're going to be a good team in a couple of years' time. Why don't Arsenal do that? Why don't they say, let's get rid of the ones who are not playing and put youngsters in?
Well,
and
I think
all of them a chance.
There is too much risk with Arsenal, because the first season was nicknamed a transitional season, and this season for Chelsea has. This season for Arsenal is kind of all for nothing for Emery.
Yeah.
So I don't think
it is actually.
He can necessarily afford that. So the early stages in the Europa League and Cups, that's really about it.
Yeah.
Chelsea have Burnley away next.
Never easy there.
No, never easy at all, and they'll be looking to keep their momentum going. Cricket.
Let's talk cricket.
The 100, the new enthralling game mode. format in cricket. It's going to commence in 2020. I'm really looking forward to it.
I think it's a great idea. It's controversial because we still don't know what the sort of X factor part of it will be. We're told there's going to be one or two changes to some of the rules that might make it more interesting.
It looks like there's going to be no LBWs. It's going to bring younger players and watchers.
Somebody told me
it's going to be exciting.
I don't know how true it is that they're going to be targets around the ground as well, so you get extra points for extra runs for hitting the targets. I don't know whether that's true, but if it is, it makes it televisionally really exciting.
It is just a bit of fun. It's going to be really, really exciting. To explain what it actually is, it's a 100-ball format with 8 teams, which are franchises in the city, with men and women's sides. There's a maximum of 20 balls per bowler. Every over is 10 balls. However, bowlers can decide to only deliver 5 of those balls in an over. 2 timeouts per fielding side and 25-ball power plays, 100 balls. No LBWs, possibility of that. And the closest team to Yorkshire is called the Northern Superchargers.
They're based at Headingley.
Yeah, their team, their main players are Stokes, who's their central player, Finch, Lynn, Rashid, Live, Willie, Folkes, Kohler, Cadmore and Weezer.
Well, I mean,
every team has got a good side.
Yeah, I mean, Stokes is just incredible. I'm thrilled that he's going to be playing at Headingley, and it will work with this competition. I know a little
I'm really
bit
excited
about
for
it because Colin Graves, the chief, the guy who sort of spearheaded the English Cricket Board, this is his idea, and he's had a lot of criticism for this. But if it works, and it's going to be a television spectacular. That's what it's built for. It's built for TV. It's a 3-hour and exciting entertainment. So as a result of that, if it works and the television companies can slot it into a 3-hour slot, you can get 2 matches on a night. You can see how the BBC deals with it eventually. And I just think it's going to be brilliant. I'm really looking forward to it.
To go into further detail, every one of the 8 teams have 1 English central player. Joe Root has gone to the Trent Rockets. Jofra Archer, the Southern Brave. Stokes is obviously the Northern Superchargers. Johnny Bairstow is the Welsh Fire. Sam Curran is with the Oval Invincibles. The Manchester Originals have got Josh Butler. The London Spirit, Rory Burns, and Wokes is with the Birmingham Phoenix. Every team has got very good players, but there's been some huge miss-outs because obviously in the draft that was televised, players that are up for it, which is there's a lot of players up for it. It's the best of the domestic players and worldwide, and they basically choose their value from anywhere from £125,000 to £40,000, and if they get sold, they get that amount of money. So Rabada, Trent Bolt, Chris Gale all wanted 125k for themselves, and they didn't get picked, and they came out with nothing. Rashid Khan was the first player picked. He went for 125k to Trent, and Jason Roy went to the Oval Invincibles for 100,000. And the biggest steal was Mark Wood for just 75,000 to London, and also Steve Smith went to the Welsh Fire.
It's going to be great fun, honestly. I can't wait for it.
We have to move on to Rugby Union.
Oh, absolutely.
We've got this weekend the 2 semi-finals broadcast on ITV. England and Wales in separate finals. The first time England have got to the semi-finals in 12 years. In Rugby Union, which is a bit of a travesty, but they've got a huge game against New Zealand.
Whatever you say, whichever point of view you take on this, the winner of that game, England All Blacks, will win the World Cup. I don't have any doubts about that. Unless, of course, they bash each other so much and there's too many injuries around. That's going to be fantastic. I've really enjoyed the coverage on ITV. I wish it had been on the BBC for obvious reasons, but ITV got it, they've covered it well. I couldn't take my eyes off the quarterfinals last weekend, and I'm so looking forward to what's in store. I think England are the only team that can beat the All Blacks at the moment, and having said that, I think the All Blacks are just beginning to really fizz. They're playing so well, and therefore you would suggest that the All Blacks have just got a little bit more. But I think England are the ones.
They've definitely got more pressure on them.
Yeah,
the All Blacks.
They have, yeah.
England demolished Australia, didn't they? 40 points to.
Owen Farrell did so well. A lot of controversy about
that. The All Blacks did similarly.
Yeah, they did
as well. In the other semi-final, there's South Africa and Wales.
Great matches that.
Could
Now
potentially
Wales
be an England-Wales final.
But it could. Now that would be special with that. But Wales, I think, have got more of a problem because I think South Africa will go into as clear favourites to beat Wales. Wales struggled last weekend. They didn't play at all well.
Yeah, they
won
just edged it.
They won it. They edged it. That's
against
all.
France.
Yeah. They only just edged it, and quite honestly, it was a little bit fortunate that because the French, of course, had a player sent off. Had that player not been sent off, it might have been completely different. Wales have got fire. They've got everything behind them, but I just think that South Africa are probably a bit too strong. I'd love it to be England-Wales, obviously, but I think South Africa are a better side than Wales are. England will have to play at their very, very best to get there. Gut feeling tells me that the All Blacks might just edge it.
Well, England have got really good depth. And
they're a great team.
The late stages,
great team.
In the late stages, the latter stages in the tournament, you really do need that. Cause everyone's.
I'm going to be rooting for England. I tell you, I'm going to be rooting for them.
I was really disappointed. I think everyone was when Japan went out because they had really excited everyone as a home nation.
Brilliant. They've done some brilliant rugby.
And I think that actually means England are the only home nation to go out in the group stage.
Yeah.
But either way, they really excited everyone with really good rugby.
Oh, they have. The point that Japan let them down was that they ran out of steam after about 50 minutes, 60 minutes, and the other side's powered their way back. But it was wonderful to watch, and I've thoroughly enjoyed every single aspect of the coverage. And this is the weekend to watch all your sport, because I guarantee one thing: the Gration family will be watching a lot of sport, and we enjoy it, don't we?
Yeah, very much.